Our community, as it were, has a plethora of issues which keep us from being socio-economically viable. Marriage is practically unheard of within our current generation. It's all situationships and baby mamas and baby daddies. Many of our people live under the poverty line and don't have a job that can afford the current high cost of living. Much of this comes from our own choices. We've done this to ourselves and can't blame anyone but ourselves. We have correctional facilities which punish people for the behavioral choices they make. Society believes everyone is to be held responsible for their own actions. This is absolutely the way things should be. However, when we want to look at why a behavior takes place, we can't dismiss it as just being that individual's choice. Personal responsibility is important. The bum on the street and the drug addict are where they are because of the paths they chose. But is that the entire story? In our community, these things keep happening. We can't have a thriving community if these behaviors persist. Most of our people are not forming families, don't own and control anything, and are struggling financially. Scolding these people on how they need to do better isn't working. So what's the solution? ESG and DEI politics and entertainment and media understand a rather simple fact. You get them while they're young. You install ways of thinking and patterns of behavior at the time they are most impressionable. The way in which these companies will force behaviors is to install them in the moldable minds of children. When these children grow up, they will make life choices which they will be held responsible for based on the messages they were given in their youth. Why did they choose these things? And why do corporations spend billions of dollars a year targeting such a demographic? Our book of wisdom, contained in the Bible, says to teach a child the way they should go, and when they are old, they will not turn away from those teachings. The authors of Proverbs understood where behavior comes from and the importance of a solid moral foundation. If you sat these parents of these wayward children down and asked questions about their child rearing, you would find out very quickly why their children turn out the way they did. We have to separate out who's responsible for the behavior from why the behavior persists. If someone owns a dog and the dog bites the neighbor, the dog could be put down, but the owner could also face penalty. Society has deemed dogs as not having the mental faculties to govern their own behavior. They're also not human and are considered property. Children who engage in certain behaviors will receive punishment, and while the parents won't face penalty, people will look down on the parents for why their children behave the way they do. This changes once they grow up. Or does it? Again, two things need to be separated: responsibility and cause. You don't arrest the parents of a convicted felon, but if you want to know where the behavior came from, you can look to how the parents raised them and how involved they were in their children's development. You will see a trend of environments and experiences when looking at people who grow up to do and be certain things. When establishing community, you have to establish a code of conduct, a way in which people in this community will be expected to behave. This starts at home. All human beings are the product of their environment and experience. You can't escape it, outside of being brought into new environments with new experiences. When seeking to change the behavior of a community as a whole, you have to start at the source. Child rearing is the foundation of a well-built society. You can't do anything about those who grow up and are going the wrong way. They have to be charged to the game. It's possible to reform them, but it would take a catastrophic incident for it to occur. If you sat down with this person and looked at their upbringing, you'll see the same pattern. The same can be said for someone who is successful. You're going to see those who have not fared well in life as those who had only one parent, got abused as kids either by parents, siblings, or people at school, or had some sort of trauma. Anomalies happen, but 99 times out of 100, this is what's there. For those who are successful, you'll find their parents took real agency in the upbringing of their children. These people were socially well adjusted early in life and had both parents in the home active in their lives. Telling a generation of single-parent raised people to get themselves in gear is going to go nowhere. They're just finished. You might get a few of them to get going, but most of them are out of the game. The government encouraged the breakup of the family for a reason. They knew this would result because they understand where behavioral patterns are formed. They understand the concept of garbage in, garbage out. They know once people have been indoctrinated and infantilized into complacency, given instant and artificial gratification, and coddled into their adulthood, it will be nearly impossible to break those ingrained habits. Some will make it out, but those will be the few who slip through the cracks. The vast majority will have been neutralized. You can handle the occasional Malcolm or Dr. King. You can't handle a mass of them. A narrow gate of success is manageable and controllable by those seeking to oppress you. Our enemies will gladly take one Marcus Garvey for 100,000 Pookies. For them, that's winning. That's winning big. Again, this does not mean parents are responsible for their children's actions as adults. I'm not talking about responsibility for behavior. I'm talking about the cause of the behavior. Not about what you did, but why you did it. There is something worn into you from your upbringing and the culmination of the environments and experiences you grew up with that led you down this path. When you understand and acknowledge where these things come from, you can then nip it in the bud. We have to stop dealing with symptoms and actually get to the root of the problem. Addiction is a symptom. Social awkwardness is a symptom. Economic ineptitude is a symptom. You're not going to reverse these things because they're worn well into the wood. We have to go back to the drawing board, which is establishing better homes. This can't be done through Pookie and Shaniqua. The fact other people groups do not have these family issues while having an economy for their people to glean from is of no coincidence. If you can't get your house in order, you will never get your people in order.